Gothenburg, on the west coast of Sweden, is home to just under 600,000 people. It's a place of natural beauty and cultural interest. But this summer, we had a special reason for visiting. Born with a severe disability, never giving up, setting world records, creating a business, starting a family, getting involved, inspiring others, making a difference. This is David Lega from our member party, the Christian Democrats in Sweden, former deputy mayor of Gothenburg, and now a member of the European Parliament. This is his story.
Hi, Nathan.
Hello.
How are you?
Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Welcome.
Good to be here. Good to be here. Thanks so much for hosting us in your lovely home, in your lovely city.
Please come in. Let's go outside to our
Very good.
terrace. I was thinking we could sit out here.
Perfect. It's a lovely day. Thank you so much for welcoming us to your beautiful home,
Thank
in
you
your
for
beautiful
coming.
city, and your beautiful country.
Thank you. I'm so happy that you're here.
We're really looking forward to getting to know your story.
And I can't wait to show you my city and why I wanted to become a politician and to have those discussions.
I guess we're here on your beautiful terrace. You're spending a lot of time here, I guess, these days for the last year or so. How has that been, being here during the time of pandemic?
Well, it's been strange for all of us. I mean, working remote for over a year, it's extremely strange as a new member of the European Parliament as well. But it's been going well, and we've been very efficient, and I'm good with modern technology. So we've settled in really well with our home studio and all the meetings, technology around it to both vote online and have the meetings. It's important that it looks professional to me. So with a backdrop from the European Union and the flag, I think with that it works well.
You're looking forward to things going back to business as usual?
As we all are, but I also hope that we learn things from this horrible situation that we've been through and the pandemic, and see what do we need to do in person, what can be done better even remote, how can we save time with flying or traveling and just actually meet anyway. So I'm hoping that we don't go back to normal, but that we'll find a new normal after this.
You've done some amazing things in your life, in athletics, as a swimmer, a paralympic swimmer, as a business person, in all kinds of amazing ways. So the first big question I wanted to ask you, looking back over all the many different phases of your life and the amazing things that you've done now,
Thank you.
You're in your first mandate in the European Parliament. How would you, in 2021, July 2021, or how would you define yourself? How would you identify yourself?
A father and a husband. This is the newest part of my life, which I've been waiting for and wishing for. But I mean, I don't see the need to define yourself as one in one part of your life, as one identity. I think that the balance is what defines us as people. I am a husband and a father, but I am a man with a disability. I have Jewish background. I was a Paralympic athlete, entrepreneur, public speaker, politician, and those things combined makes David. So even if I am not an active athlete or active in my Jewish heritage, those parts will always be important to me because I learned so much from them. So the balance between them and to be able to stand fast and secure in every part of your identity, that defines you, I would say.
Tell me about this stair. This is a beautiful stairway. I think there's something interesting about it.
And this is a very famous stair because the architect, when he designed it in the 1930s, this was supposed to be the courthouse, and the proportions of the steps are apparently all wrong. That the steps are too low and too wide compared to what they should be. So you need to think extra when you walk up on it, and the purpose of that is that you should be thoughtful when you walk to face the judges and your verdict. So people say that it's very hard to walk in it, and I mean, I agree. I've never walked a stair in my life, so. I have so many fond memories from this room, and also upsetting moments as memories, because this is the boardroom for the city executive board, where all the decisions were made during my years as a deputy mayor. So it's quite interesting. It looks exactly the same as when I was here, but the difference is that you could always see where my spot was, because there was never a chair where I was sitting. It was always open, so I could just roll in with my wheelchair.
And I think I see a camera and a video system and hand sanitizer, maybe also things which wouldn't have been as important a few years ago as they are now.
Those three weren't there, otherwise it looks the same. So it looked like the city also adopted to having remote meetings, which is very important.
So you delivered to your voters, handed off to your successor also from the Christian Democrats. And how is the city doing under Christian Democratic and EPP leadership?
I think they're doing amazing. I'm so proud of Elizabeth, and I've known her for many years. We completely share the same values and the principles, and she's really guarding everything concerning the elderly, people with disabilities, human rights. She's also very prominent in international politics concerning the IPAC alliance on China, and she's really working extremely well, so I'm very proud.
So here, just in this prominent window of the City Hall, we have the EU flag, the Swedish flag, and the local flag of Gothenburg. What's the significance of this?
Well, for me it's very important because this is the principle of subsidiarity, that you actually make the decisions on the right level and as low as possible. I mean, most of the decisions that we take are at home, around the kitchen table, and then you move up everywhere, all the way until some decisions which you need to take on a European level, like decisions regarding climate, security, trade, free movement, but it's an extremely important principle to keep decisions as low as possible for me. So this is a guidance that we all need to think about more, which is...
And the fact that the EU flag is also here, it also seems to signal perhaps the fact that the EU role is valued and it's acknowledged even here in the local level of Gothenburg.
I think that we also need to discuss more the fact that over 60% of the decisions that we take in the European Parliament are actually affecting on a local level. So it is extremely important, and our problem is getting that information out and make it understandable to voters in the cities that it makes a difference what you vote for, even in the European Parliament.
In a very special place. We're in the biggest synagogue in Gothenburg, and this is a place with special significance for you because this is where you yourself had your bar mitzvah.
Yes, it's amazing to stand up here again. I mean, I don't do that very often, naturally, since with the time that we live in now, after Corona, but naturally also since I'm not an active Jew, but the heritage and the culture means so much to me.
Why was it that you decided to do your bar mitzvah in the first place, and why here? Why this place in particular?
Well, this is the congregation of Gothenburg, so it's natural. If you do it here. And the reason for me was maybe not the most ordinary reason, because I did it because I didn't want Hitler to win. If all of my family, almost on my father's side, died during the Holocaust, at least what I could do is learn the traditions, learn the culture, and understand what it meant to them, why they died for their faith. And I had this discussion with my rabbi as well, and he asked me before why I wanted to do my bar mitzvah, and I said, this is my reason. And he said, it's a negative reason. And I said, yes, I know, but it's my reason. And we had a very good discussion about it, that for me, since I'm not religious, it doesn't mean that I don't value everything that I learned from Judaism and the values that we now carry with us into the Christian democracy, which are based on our traditional values from Judaism and Christianity.
I want to come back to this issue of values, maybe by combining two different elements. One of the things that really stood out to me in your autobiography was a sentence that really blew me away when you said, basically, not only because of your Jewish heritage, but also because of your disability, you would have been one of the first that the Nazis would have sent to the camps, essentially. And then you also say, a few sentences later, that the communists also did not treat people with disabilities very well. So back to the question of values, neither the Nazis nor the communists valued essentially the inherent human dignity of every person. How have you found the family of Christian democracy, the family of the European People's Party, to be a family that embraces values which you've inherited and which you've known in some ways since your childhood, as we see here in this place where you had your bar mitzvah?
But I mean, we know that Christian democracy rose from the ashes after all the atrocities during the Second World War, that we needed to have an ideology that will always value and put human life first above everything else. And that is so, in a way, sacred to me, that nothing can be compromised with the value of one single person's life. And just to have that in your background, in your ideology, if you say, to make all the decisions that you make for yourself, for your family, as a politician, as a lawmaker, to have that as your background, that we always say, see every person, but this is what it means to me. And we always say, never again, but we need to mean it. And for me, standing fast on my background means that I never doubt my identity. And my identity from my Jewish background is a lot bigger than my identity as a person with a disability, even if that's more visible. Everyone can see that I have a disability. No one can see my Jewish heritage, but it's always there. And it guides me. In Sweden, we have seen, unfortunately, a terrible increase in anti-Semitism, where even social democratic youth parties are shouting death to Israelis, death to Jews, combined with their hatred toward the country of Israel. And we need to make sure that people understand that politics and religion are two different things. They should never be the same. We need to divide that. But also, if people mix up, we know that in Sweden, 86% of the Swedish population mix up their views on Jews with their opinion about Israel. And regardless what you think about Israel, that is wrong.
I know now you're a new father and have a daughter. When you think back to your bar mitzvah and the values that represented and has the values that has represented for you throughout your life, and you think now of passing on those values to her, what would you hope that she takes from this sacred tradition?
For me, I don't need her at all to do a bat mitzvah. I don't need her to be an active Jew at all, but I hope that she's interested enough to learn her heritage too. And I mean, my wife doesn't come from Judaism at all. She's an atheist, but we share the same values anyway, and that's what it's about. And the fact that she also helps in bringing those traditions to our home, to our joint home, where we can celebrate both Christmas and Hanukkah. For me, that's extremely important, because that will give our daughter a larger perspective of life, hopefully.
another special place for you, and that is a swimming pool. You have 3 gold medals in World Championships, 4 European Championships. You've competed in 2 different Paralympic Games, in the '96 Atlanta Games, the 2000 Sydney Games.
Yeah.
You have 14 world records, 4 of which, as I understand, are still in existence, are still world records. So a big question for you, how did this start for you, swimming?
Well, it's completely, it's strange, isn't it? I mean, with my disability, you shouldn't even be able to swim, and I couldn't. I had a swim ring until I was 12. And then in 1986, the summer of 1986, the World Championships for people with disabilities was held here in Gothenburg. And I was 12, I was there looking at the games, and I saw especially one guy, a British swimmer. He was a quadruple amputee, no arms, no legs, amputated by the shoulders and by the hips. And he swam by moving his stumps as arms and rotating his hips. And he won the gold medal for people with the most severe disabilities, class 1 out of 10. And he won the gold medal, and I had a swim ring. And he came up to the seats, spectator seats after. He was 25, world champion, and he sat down next to me and he showed me his medal, and he said that, if I can do this, so can you. And I mean, it's very hard to say, it's easy for you to say when you hear that. So 2 weeks after, I went into the pool to learn how to swim. He became such an important role model to me in all my life.
I know nothing was easy from the very beginning to all of these medals and world records that you set. And I know just here as the ladder is one of the prime examples for this. This is a simple ladder, most people would say, for getting out of the pool.
Yeah.
What did this particular object mean for you in your career as a swimmer?
Pain. It took me, I went into the pool the first time, and after flotation training with my coach, after 1 hour, and I was going out of the pool, she said, I'm not lifting you up. You have to learn how to do this yourself. And I thought she was kidding, but she said, no, I'm not doing it. You have to learn. And I started trying to push my head in between the bars on the ladder and trying to get my foot up on the edge and try to raise myself out of the pool, and naturally I failed. And she forced me to try every training session, and I failed every time for over 4 years.
So for 4 years, your coach pushed you to make yourself learn to get out of the pool.
Yeah.
And you kept failing and failing and trying again and trying again.
And when I was 16 and a half, 4.5 years later, I managed to do it for the first time. And that feeling beats every medal, beats every world record, beats every competition that I did, because that's what it was about for me. It was never about beating you or beating someone else or winning the gold medal. It was about beating myself. And that muscle I use every day to climb out of my wheelchair, to hop onto my electrical wheelchair, to hop over to the sofa, to the bed. She forced me to become more independent, and I will always be grateful for that. Being born with a severe disability in the 70s in Sweden made me the person that we now talk about helping in politics every day. How we care for the weaker people in society, how we care for the elderly, how we care for the people with disabilities, but to be able to move from that person to one of those that you in every country define as a hero, the athlete who makes the impossible possible, and then suddenly a lawmaker that tries to give our next generation of children the same possibilities of creating their best life as I had. That's what politics is for me, that you stand with your ideology, for me the Christian democracy, and you use that to find your compass in how to vote.
Seeing the inherent dignity of every person, making democratic decisions as close to the people as possible, fighting for European values, taking responsibility. never giving up, building a better future. These are the principles that have guided David Lega in his life and in his career, as an athlete, as a businessman, and as a political leader. This is his story. This is an EPP story.